In this video, I'm going to discuss the latest application rate for October 2025 BTO launch. To make it easy to read, I took the data from HDB website and turned it into charts which are exclusive to this channel. Now let's talk about the application rate for today. Now let's start with two-room flexi supply and demand. So this chart is basically comparing between the total supply, which is in the blue bar, versus the total demand, which is reflected in the green bar. And if you are interested to know like what was the status as of yesterday, it is reflected by the red bar. So for day 5, the most popular town is still Bukit Merah for two-room flexi because we already surpassed 2,000 applicants for Bukit Merah. And then the runner-up goes to Yishun actually with just under 1,400 applicants. The surprising part is we have more applicants for Yishun versus Payoh, which is quite interesting. I wasn't expecting that Payoh to get this low in terms of numbers. Initially, I thought Payoh will be more popular, but maybe the proximity to two cemeteries for Mount Pleasant Crest dampen the number a little bit. And then the third place goes to Bedok actually. So surprisingly, quite a lot of people apply to Bedok, even though the location is far away from the MRT station. So next up, we have the two-room flexi application rate for seniors. Currently, Bedok is the most in demand with 3.1, and then the runner-up is Sengkang, which is at 2.9 as of today. If we look at the gap between today and yesterday, I think the increment is more or less quite flat. There's not much extreme jump so far. So I think this is still under control. So next up, we have the two-room flexi application rate for first-timer singles. Jurong East has the highest application rate with 14.3. This is a jump from yesterday number of 12.9. We already discussed several times here. Jurong East, the application rate is expected to be super high simply because the unit allocation for single is very, very limited. Sengkang is blank because there's no two-room flexi for singles at Fernvale Plains. And then if we look at the numbers, the runner-up is Bishan with 11.8. If we look at the numbers, the runner-up is Bedok with 11.8, followed closely by Bishan with 11.5. For me personally, what is surprising is Ang Mo Kio and Toa Payoh is very low in terms of the application rate. So this is very interesting. Next up, we have the two-room flexi application rate for first-timer families. You know, I'm very interested to know because Ang Mo Kio, Bishan, Bukit Merah, and also Toa Payoh, the number is so small, it is being averaged down to a 0 by Excel. So this is interesting. If you are first-timer families interested in two-room flexi, you still have a good chance in virtually all towns. Okay, next up, we have the two-room flexi application rate for second-timer families. So the numbers are also still under control. The one that is the highest in demand would be Jurong East. Again, this is because the amount of unit allocated for second-timer families is very limited for two-room flexi. And then Bedok, interestingly, is even higher than other towns like Bukit Merah, Bishan, Ang Mo Kio. So that's interesting. Probably Bedok is popular because Pingi Court is classified as a standard project. Probably that is the main driver of this outcome. Now let's talk about the total supply and demand for 3-room. So in this day 5, we can see that Yishun actually has the most number of applicants for 3-room. It's even surpassing Bukit Merah. And basically, virtually other towns are beaten by Yishun. So somehow Yishun 3-room is very, very popular. Maybe because for Yishun, both Yishun Glade and Chencharu Grove are classified as standard. So the price is more affordable. And then in terms of restrictions, you only are subjected to like 5 years MOP, and then you can rent out the whole flat after MOP, etc. The only town where the supply is still higher than the demand is Ang Mo Kio. So that's interesting. But I think eventually Ang Mo Kio demand will catch up with the supply. That's what I believed in, because we're still at day 5 and then the gap is not that big. Now let's look at the 3-room application rate for first-timer families. Wow. Yishun actually has the highest application rate so far with 1.8. This is only slightly increased versus yesterday of 1.6. And then Bedok and Bukit Merah are tied with 1.2. And then if you are interested to apply for Ang Mo Kio and Bishan, it seems like you still have a very good chance because again, the application rate is still like 0.3, which is very low considering how mature the towns are. But I'm guessing it's because for Ang Mo Kio and Bishan, the projects are categorized as plus and prime, right? So I think most people are deterred with the fact that you would get the 10-year MOP, but then it's a 3-room. For most families, a 3-room is too small because you don't know what will happen in the next decade, right? You might have more kids, or let's say your parents might move in with you, you have extended families coming in, etc. So I can understand that probably 3-room is not very popular for first-timer families, especially if it's categorized as plus or prime. So next up, we have the 3-room application rate, but for second-timer families. So this is where the number gets crazy. For Bukit Merah, for example, the application rate as of today is already 22.3. So that means there are more than 22 families applying and fighting basically for one unit at Bukit Merah. And then the runner-up is Yishun with 14.6. And then the second runner-up is Payoh with 11.8. Yeah, so the numbers are like this. Okay, next up we have the most popular flat type, which is 4-room. And then as of today, day 5, the amount of applicants for Bukit Merah is the highest. You can even see that the jump is quite significant versus other towns. You see for Bukit Merah yesterday, the number of applicants is still 3,177, but by today it jumped by like 500 applicants. So that's quite significant. We also see another big jump is for Payoh, which is now close to 2,000 applicants for 4-room. And then the second runner-up is Yishun with over 1,000 applicants. What is interesting is that Ang Mo Kio is the only town where the amount of supply still surpasses the demand. And this is for 4-room. So guys, if you are open-minded to apply for Ang Mo Kio, it seems like this is your best bet compared to other towns. Now let's look at the 4-room application rate for first-timer families. So overall, the numbers are still quite reasonable for day 5. The highest application rate is at Bukit Merah and Payoh neck to neck. It's about 2. The jump from yesterday also is still reasonable. And the runner-up is Sengkang with 1.9, followed closely by Bishan. And then if we see the chart, oh my god, Ang Mo Kio is dwarf basically compared to other towns. I think a lot of people voiced out in my comment section that I believe most people, including myself, was originally assuming that Ang Mo Kio has a good chance to be categorized as a standard, but apparently it's a plus. And probably this is a disappointment because when the concept was first introduced in 2003, right, we were under the assumption that plus flat would be like close to MRT station, and apparently for this Ang Mo Kio project, it's far from MRT station, more than 1 kilometer away to Yio Chu Kang MRT station, but then it is still being subjected to plus restrictions. So probably that's a letdown for many people, because honestly, like, it's not normal to see a mature town, the numbers is this small compared to other towns. Next up, we have the 4-room application rate, but for second-timer families. So the highest right now is Bukit Merah with 16.4, and then the runner-up is Yishun, and then followed by Sengkang. But then if you look at the numbers, Bishan and Payoh is just slightly behind Sengkang. So pretty much quite a tie, 3-way tie between Bishan, Sengkang, and Payoh. Again, Ang Mo Kio, the amount of application rate is still very much small versus other towns. And then last but not least, we have the 5-room / 3-gen supply and demand. So this is very interesting because Yishun actually has the highest number of applicants so far. So even versus yesterday, the amount of applicants applying for Yishun increased by more than 100 applicants. So that's interesting. And then the runner-up is Sengkang. Next up, we have the 5-room/3 gen application rate for first-timer families. Again, Yishun is the highest so far with 2.2. This is a jump versus yesterday's number of 1.8. And then Sengkang and Jurong is quite far behind. And then Bedok number is suppressed. We have discussed this several times. I think Bedok, the problem is no longer about location for 5-room and 3 gen. I believe the problem is on the pricing because it is just too expensive. For second-timer families, this is where the number as usual gets very crazy. For Yishun, as of day 5, the application rate is already close to 25. So that's nuts. And then the runner-up is Jurong East with 15.2, followed by Sengkang. And then, yeah, the last position again is Bedok for 5-room and 3 gen flats. As usual, here is the screen recording of the raw data that I got from HDB website. Feel free to pause the video and take a screenshot if you would like to do so. Yeah, definitely it's quite interesting, the result for day 5 so far. Let me know in the comment section down below, like which project are you interested in. And if you want to know more about the latest application rate for tomorrow, come back again to this channel tomorrow.